minimum, I wanted to at least introduce Andy. Andy and I got connected, I don't know, several weeks ago. And Andy acts as a fractional CMO for companies. He's more of a strategist. I'm more of a technician, I guess. I've been deep into the AI world for a couple of years now, as has our team, and got really intrigued when ChatGPT came out because it was so advanced, especially when GPT-4 came out. And then we started messing around with image generation and things like that. So it's really helped us out tremendously as we try to scale our operation. And so the point of having these meetings is to work with other business leaders and say, hey, let's see what you're struggling with, how you want to use it, what can we do to help you accelerate your journey by giving you some feedback. So, Andy, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you. I'll take just a short amount of time here. And I have to leave at the top of the hour, unfortunately. I had an obligation previous, but yeah, I've been doing this about 20 years. I've been in the fractional CMO role for about the last 10 years, where I've been building strategies for clients from startups all the way to multi-billion-dollar companies in various industries, although lately it seems like it's been more B2B and like technology, IT services companies, healthcare companies that are linked to technology, software as a service. But anyway, building these strategies out, complete strategic marketing plans, where the client may not know exactly what they want to do. Well, they know what the outcomes they want to impact are, but they don't know how to get there. And so it's building that pathway from getting to where they are to where they want to be, and making sure the marketing's serving the business needs and the business goals. So I build comprehensive plans for that sort of thing. And in the last 10 years, it's been more about taking those plans and then implementing them for clients, helping them implementing them in real 6-month to 12-month bursts, so they get a lot more done than they might otherwise. And since I'm the one that's really facilitating the building of the strategy, I have a sort of bring a better understanding of how to bring it to life as well. And I have a wide network of resources that I bring in as myself as the generalist and the sort of the ring master, and then they do all of their specialties. So if it's a digital agency or it's a branding agency or it's a PR agency, you bring them in and they do what they do well. Gotcha. And so that's how I've been really helping clients for the last 10 years or so.
All right, cool. John, good to see you again. He's back by popular demand. I saw you got in a little early, and I was like, oh, shoot, man, does my reminder notice say 10 a.m.? Because I've been known to botch that up.
No, it's just not on my calendar, and I thought I was missing it. So,
oh, okay.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah. Were you able to find the link to put it on your calendar?
Of course. Yes.
Okay. Good.
Same with me. It wasn't on my calendar, but you sent me the reminder, and I had the link. So.
Okay, good. Yeah. In the reminders, there should be a link to a way for you to download it and put it into your calendar. So,
yeah, it worked for me, John. That did work.
Great. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, let's kind of dive into the agenda. So we kind of have gone through the introductions, and I'm just going to kind of skip through this stuff. Oh, yeah. If you want to access the roundtable replays, you can just sign up for them here. I still have to build out that interface. I haven't gotten around to it, but I'll probably add it to the reminder notices. So, in the event you can't hit this, a reminder will go out. I'll probably get around to the reminder as soon as I actually get the interface built where you can view the replays. All right, so the first half, and Andy's got to bail for the second half, unfortunately, but the first half, we want to talk about cost reduction and efficiency using AI. And so some of the things that I wanted to talk about and kind of pick everybody's brain on, whoever's using it and who's not using it, is, what are the ways that you're using it to reduce costs and improve efficiencies? What are the tools that you're using? What are the problems that you may have with it, and what are the concerns you have? So, John, I don't remember whether you had started using it or you were just, dipping your toes into it. Where are you in that process?
Yeah, I mean, we've played around with it a bit though, but we do some automated service provisioning for some of the large public venues that we manage and develop. So we're kind of playing around with it. We've got to working through how to do automatic service provisioning for location-based services and the like. And I think that conversational AI can play a piece of that, and also tying with the back end SD-WAN kind of interface we're working with. So it's interesting, but we're really in just the information gathering. Just hired a Python developer though.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. Well, Tim, give me an idea of what your business is and what you do when you talk about provisioning.
InfoLink. Yeah, we essentially make wireless work in difficult situations, both on the carrier side, in distributed antenna systems and the like, riding the fence between the wireless carriers and the enterprise. And then we do some large Wi-Fi systems, stadium systems, like we do Ole Miss, their football stadium and basketball arena, and we just won a deal in Jefferson Parish for Lafayette Park, and we're developing location-based services. They're trying to figure out how to make the Wi-Fi system via advertising and other products pay for the operational, right? There's a lot of these systems coming online now that are funded by big federal dollars, but there's no real sustainability model. So we're investing in that kind of stuff, trying to figure it out.
Interesting. Okay, that's good to know. Where are you located? You're in New
Lafayette,
Orleans?
right here on the Vermilion River.
Man, why hadn't I heard of you? Maybe I probably have.
We're a 25-year-old company now.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Yeah, because I know a lot of businesses in Lafayette do kind of offshore stuff in terms of that.
Yeah, no, we're a small house. We're just there's just 8 of us, and we really just focus on big, complicated, hard problems to solve. Fortunately, it's still paying the bills.
There you go. There you go. Well, are you using it at all in terms of marketing, or are you just simply looking at it on the provisioning side?
Yeah, we're trying to understand how to use it for customer interactions and back of the house provisioning. But no, we're not doing any marketing at all. We really don't do any marketing to a fault. Generally, just my phone rings. We've been doing it for so long that we got big customers that some large hospital groups, some large oil field. Chevron's our biggest customer.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Mitch, how about you? You using it at all yet? I know you were just trying to figure it out last time.
Yeah, John, we're trying to figure it out. I mean, I have a bunch of guys that think they have it figured out, but I haven't seen where anybody has put it into play where it can, help the bottom line. So, but I think there's some definite advantages that we're close to, but we still have a little ways to go.
Okay.
And I mean, we're the traditional, IT, small, medium business, kind of a generalist, a one-stop shop for infrastructure and installation and support, but mostly on the the hardware storage side. So our market is changing fast, right? We see a lot of our market going to the cloud, and would love to kind of get some trends and directions and stuff like that on how to take care of that piece.
And are you doing what are you doing in the marketing world? Much?
Well, what we've done, and quite frankly, it's been successful. We've gone and tapped into the LSU, college, internship. They have they have a good program at LSU, and we get a lot of good folks coming in, and they kind of bring a lot of energy and excitement to the table. Really, we just hang on. they're way ahead of us in a lot of things, you know. But yeah, that's kind of what we've done, the marketing side. It's a lot of just gosh, it's just your simple blocking and tackling, you know, sitting down and figuring out what you want to go after and go get it.
Yeah. Cool. How about you, David? DL?
Here, I'm just putting my toe in the water. I got to figure out what the hell it's all about.
Okay. Cool. Well, I thought I'd show you a couple of the tools that we use on a marketing side. And I wish some of the guys from last week were back on, because they are really deep into the back end, where they've done all the internal integrations where they're feeding it data sets, which, John, sounds like what you're trying to accomplish. I know on the front end of the marketing side, in terms of provisioning, you could actually tap into AI as a chat bot, where you would have on the back end, you'd fed it enough information about what you need to where people could actually have a conversation with the AI. It would ask them the things that it needs to know and give them, you know, some decent responses, so they would know if there's any missing pieces where it could continue to, you know, get that information. I don't know whether that's part of your provisioning vision in terms of using AI, but I know that's a definite possibility. What we're using it for the most part internally, is just ideation, content creation, competitive analysis, persona identification, a lot of the marketing things that would typically take us days, weeks, months, we can now literally do inside of hours, minutes, and seconds, which is really kind of interesting. Now, the problem that I keep seeing over and over is like on YouTube or TikTok or some of these other platforms, people will say, oh, this prompt is going to change your life, you know? And when you actually use the prompt, it just gives you really generic information, what I would call obvious feedback, right? And if you want to really narrow it down to where it's useful feedback, you have to know more about how to create what we call a scalable prompt. And I'll kind of give you an idea. And Andy, feel free to weigh in on what you're seeing with your clients. You know, don't let me just babble my head off here.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, John's on kind of on the bleeding edge of what I've seen of how to build these scalable prompts. But I found something very interesting this week. We're doing the same thing. We're using it to generate content, strengthen offers, reorganize an offer in more of a sequential way that makes sense for the customer. Once I feed into it, describe everything that we're trying to do. Something that happened really interesting this week. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with the book Building a Story Brand, but it's been out there a while. And yes, so I fed it an offer this week and said, now spit that out back to me in the story brand format. And it did it, which was shocking to me.
3.5 or 4?
4. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
And it was good. It was strong. I mean, I had to go back and strengthen it in certain areas, but it was quite well written.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
It does a great job. You have to have 4, 3.5.
Yeah. No, definitely 4. Yeah.
Yeah. And let me show you just a couple of things that we're doing, because they may be helpful to you as you try to build your processes out. But we've created this prompt database inside of a tool called Notion. And in Notion, I think I showed it to you last time, but it allows you to create all kinds of characteristics for the prompts. We use it as a kind of a production board, so we can go through, create prompts, test them out, and then evaluate them. And then we put them into production so that everybody on the team can use them, so that we have uniformity in our content creation policies, right? The last thing we need is somebody sitting there for, an hour trying to get ChatGPT to give it something useful when everybody else is doing the same thing. Now, all of a sudden you're burning time. But once you've got the prompt mastered, we put it in here, and a lot of times I'll put one in here and then we'll go, oh, this one is in development. So other people will start to mess with it. But once we get it to say, oh, wow, this is putting out exactly what we need, Then we make it approved and people will use it from there. Like for instance, if I were to go in here and let's just go take a look. Like this one, blog posts. All right. So this is, it's a big old hairy prompt. We don't want to type that every time, right? And we have variables in here that we would want to fill in. But once we've got it produced, we just copy it and then we'll go into, let's see where, let me see if I can find where I have stashed my Chat GPT workflows. Here we go. All right. So we'll do is we'll just go ahead and we would paste it in here and then we would go up here and we would paste in some context. So it might be that we're getting something where we're giving it instructions, right? We're saying, look, here are our issues, our problems, or our thoughts around something. And we would push that in there. Then in here, we would tell it who is our audience, what's the topic, what's the style, how many sections do we want it to write? This is for a blog post. So we know that, and Andy, right, from an SEO standpoint, 1,500 words, 1,400 to 1,600 words seems to be the magic point for Google to actually give you any traction. Smaller than that doesn't work. To get ChatGPT to write a 1,500 word blog post in one shot doesn't work. So we created a prompt that breaks it into sections and then we have it build big sections, but we want to give it our own input. Okay. So if you want to take an example, like John, I don't know whether you could give me like a link to a page on your site or some post or some content where I could use it as context and I can ask this to generate something. If you've got anything, feel free to send it and then we'll take a peek at it. I just want to show you, how this thing operates because it took us a while to master this beast, but it's pretty cool.
So while he's doing that, could you explain context very briefly, John?
Yeah, so think of it this way. ChatGPT currently, all of its data set is 2021 and backwards, right? They did just open up to where it'll browse for new stuff, but you have to provide it with a URL and it takes forever. Well, when you're used to it spitting something out fast, it can get frustrating waiting for this. So absent a URL, you want to give it your own information. Like,
right.
For instance, with us, we completely changed business models since 2021. So when I ask it who we are, it gives me the wrong information, right? So we would have to actually give it information to train it. Does that make sense? I want to give it information that is uniquely mine. Maybe it's my opinions, maybe it's my thoughts, maybe it's a case study, maybe it's something that it's not going to have access to, or if it does, I don't want it searching the world and finding stuff that's not relevant. I want to give it relevance. I want to give it my own bias, if you will, right? So that's what context is.
Okay, so you're kind of framing what you're about to ask it to do. Okay.
Yeah. So let's see. So John, this is what you've got. So this is basically a case study, right? Okay. So if we were to take this and we were pop it in here as context.
Okay.
All right. So now I've got all this stuff in here as context. Who's our audience, John? Large venues.
Yeah, large public venues. There you go.
Okay. And what do we want to write about?
Customer interaction or user interaction.
Okay, so let's think about that. Because this is a blog post. What we want to do is answer questions that your audience may be asking you in a sales process, right? Or they're searching for it. They've got a problem, and their problem, based on what you told me earlier, is their problem is they're having a hard time getting internet connectivity at scale inside their venue. Is that close?
Yeah. No. Okay. So that's what we solve for. That's pretty straightforward. But so that's not really a problem. That's just a product set. What we would solve for here, let's say, is how to implement location-based services.
Okay. We don't have to get really grammatically correct with Chat GPT, but Grammarly flags me, so I do it. So in terms of a style, what we typically have is a whole lot of style parameters, but I'm going to shortcut it, and I'm going to just name a blogger out there that writes in an educational fashion that I know it will know. So I'm going to use Seth Godin. He writes that way. We would typically, if we're working with you, John, we would define your own style characteristics so that it would write in your voice, but we getting ready to write like Seth. All right. And we'll make it a relatively long thing. So we're going to have it write 4 sections, and we're going to have it write 350 words per section. And info link. I want to make sure I'm spelling this right.
Yep.
Is that
USA.
it?
That's it.
Okay, cool. Product or service. What do we want to call your product or service?
I didn't study for this test, boss.
I hate to put you in the hot seat, but you're in the hot seat.
It makes it a great exercise, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Wireless as a service.
All right, so I don't need all those S's. Okay, so now what we've got is we're telling it to write a long form blog post for the audience about the topic, writing in that style with the symptoms that the audience may have that they're going to recognize if they need help. We're going to give it the detail that it needs. We're going to break it into these sections. We're going to dive into the benefits and the product with the provided context. And we could probably give it some more context about your company. We've just given it essentially a case study. And then we're going to tell it to break it in sections and then ask us after each section, is that good enough? Do you want me to write some more? All right. So it's a fairly lengthy prompt. The key to it is this, right? Is this context where we're giving it information about us and a case study. And I could even just make this a case study and have it reference it also in the prompt, but let's just see how the beast does. Now, since this is GPT-4, GPT-4 is a little bit slower, but here we go. Let's see. So the first thing I asked it to do was give me some SEO keywords and then make sure when it's writing it that it's going to incorporate that stuff. Then I said, give me an outline of what you're getting ready to write. So tell me if this is actually making sense as it writes it. Okay, so we're going to, does that look okay?
Yeah, amazing.
Okay. All right, so we're going to have it write the introduction first, right? Opening, actually, it calls it an opening. Okay. So we're going to tell it to write the opening.
Yeah, I've noticed it started adding bold and all that lately.
Yeah, we typically tell it to use markup, so that may have been in the prompt, but I like it to use markup so I can see what's going on. Then I can copy and paste it into another document and get some really useful stuff here. All right, so now it's asking you if you want to write the next section. How did that feel to you? Look pretty good?
Yeah, surprisingly so.
As a starting point. Now, keep in mind what you want to do is this is your starting point, and then you want to go in and edit it so that it really fits.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's just tell it we're going to write section 1. And all we have to do is type in a 1.
Thanks, John. I got to go, but thank you.
All right, Andy.
Yep.
We'll see you later.
All right. Thanks all.
Yeah, John, I'm gonna have to drop as well. I'm going to
Okay.
count votes for Bonaparte to set up our board. So I'll see you next time. Thanks.
Good luck. All right, buddy. See you.
I have 11 o'clock call. I'll jump back on it depending on this with my attorney. So I never know
Oh,
how,
well, we don't want to keep an attorney waiting. That'll cost you.
but I'll try if I can. Thanks.
Okay, no sweat. So John, you're getting a one-on-one coaching session right here.
Absolutely.
All right, so now it's finished with that. How did that do? But you see, we got a fair amount of content here, and we've just got an intro in section 1. All right, so now if that looks cool, we'll just tell it to go to section 2. Now you could go in and say, okay, I want you to change this to that, et cetera, and it would make that change, and then you could tell it to go on to the next section. So inside, embedded in this prompt is a way for you to step by step go through and produce what you're trying to produce and edit it in real time as it's going. And that way you can modify it to insert, your own voice, temperament, whatever it is that you need.
Really crazy. I mean, one of the primary, functions is like how we use private LTE, right? For like point of sale and ticketing and stuff like that. And so getting those devices, as you start to move into CBRS as a common carrier, and you've got these devices you have to onboard, being able to onboard them using the Wi-Fi system. And that's exactly what they're talking about here. Really amazing.
Yeah. All right. So let's go on to section 3.
It's a good thing that this stuff can't do sales meetings, because otherwise I'd be out of a job.
Give it time, right? One of the things that we're working on with AI is a trained bot that really knows our customer and the pains and problems and knows our solution, so they can have a conversation with it, but it's trying to get them to schedule a meeting with a human. And I'm hoping that I can get that launched sometime next week, but theoretically it'll be pretty cool. Okay, so now we got 3 sections written. Let's go into the 4th section that we asked it to write. Now it's going after the web, which is interesting. It's doing its own little research because we turn that function on. This is where it starts to slow down, because but the cool thing is it's trying to figure stuff out. Now you see what it just tried to do. Tried to access that link.
Right.
And now it's going back and forth. It'll start, looking at a bunch of links and say, okay, what else have I got here that I can play around with?
You can
really
click down on that and see what it's doing and expose what it's doing. Yeah, click on that.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
It's like, how does this all relate, right? Now, what's interesting is that when we're finished with this, you're going to have a blog post that a copywriter would have probably charged you about $600 to write. And I don't know what our timestamp is, but we're probably in it 3 minutes. I don't know. And it's only because we gave it a lot to think about.
Mm-hmm.
It's still thinking. This is actually a really good copy. Is it true?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This part?
Oh yeah.
Now see, it's got footnotes here. Sometimes it's not really accurate. Sometimes it'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it gives you the same length 5 times. Other times it'll actually give you legitimate different links.
Yeah, and it picked up a mistake that's out there, some old content that talks about providing paid access. All that has went away, but that was back. That's interesting. It's got footnotes because that's information that C-Spire has out there on the web that's incorrect. We've actually found that they put that out there earlier, but it'll still come up in searches.
So you could go in and correct that. So which part of it?
You go back up where you got all the footnotes there, where it says the last sentence in that
This sentence?
the home opener, all of that is false. I mean,
Well,
it's
that's
true that we were there at the
false.
home opener, but and it was free, but services from other providers could access for a small fee. That part of it is not correct.
Okay, so what we could do is we could say, but I make it really clear. Okay, so then we'll see if it. It says rewriting that. Now let's just go back up here and look at our outline. So now all we have to do is write the conclusion once this is finished. And then what you would do is you take these sections and you pop them into a Word document or a Google Doc, stack them up. Now you got your entire blog post, and then you could go through your internal channels to make sure that that's hunky-dory, and then somebody pushes it to the website. That's a fairly simplistic workflow, but that's kind of how it goes.
Somebody needs to create a plugin that allows you to drop this straight into a Google Doc.
I would imagine there's probably an extension, a browser extension or something that taps right into when you're sitting on the Google Doc to let it work, straight from Google Doc. Okay, so now we're going to go right to conclusion. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to this window, at least allow you to see. Oh, Philly, I don't want to do this. I'll go to a different window. One that's already logged in. All right, so how that, do we have any mistakes up in here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's where we directed it, but there are no location-based services being provided at Vaught Hemingway right now. So that's not an example of location-based services. It's just what we gave it.
Oh,
right.
yeah,
So that's it made an assumption that it is. So throughout you've got those mistakes, but that's something obviously that can be edited. Right.
Gotcha.
It's just amazing. The tool's amazing. The leaps that it's made and the way it composed it stacked the case up are really impressive.
Yeah, it is. And that's why we want to make sure that we feed it the information that we want it to have. That's why I said you could have different things here. You could have context, you could have case study, you could have different variables that you're feeding it so that when you use this as the topic, it has the appropriate information to pull from. Otherwise, it's going to try to make its own connections. To connect those dots. So just for giggles, let's just go in here and we'll stack it really fast, and then we'll see how many words the beast came up with. So we're just going to take, actually, we'll just take it like this. I could use the other one, but normally if I just go like this, just to show you, and then I go over here and then I paste it. See, it doesn't give me the bold stuff. If I do it the other way, where I actually select it, and I'll go down here. I could keep this in here. Let's just make it consistent. I'll throw it in there. So you see now it's got this here. And then what I would do is, this is a heading 1. So I might want to make this only about 36 points. Whoops, hang on a minute. Let me take the whole thing. Make it smaller. You know, it could be whatever you want it to be. And then I just tell it, okay, look, let's make heading 1 always be this way. All right. So then we'll go over here to this one. The only reason I'm running through this exercise is so that you can see how many words it actually created in terms of this particular post. And once it does this, you have to go back and tell it to apply the heading so it goes back into the right size. Is that what did I just do? Did I copy in 3? There's the intro.
I think you made a mistake.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, we're on 4. And I think I copied in the wrong one. So we'll make this, so heading 1. Okay. Because we rewrote it. All right, and here is the conclusion. All right, now let's just see how many words have we got in here. 2,100 words, almost 2,200 words, you know, and you could adjust those parameters to make it less, whatever. But I can tell you firsthand that getting a copywriter to write a 2,200 word post is expensive, you know, and it takes several days to get it back from them, if not a week. So to be able to pull off something like this in that amount of time is really astounding. And again, if you feed it the right information up at the front end, you can tell that this thing's going to produce some pretty remarkable stuff. And that's one way that, you know, we've been using it to reduce costs and increase efficiency. So it's not really so much of us letting people go as much as it is not hiring outside resources as much and then compressing it. The key is some human needs to know, like you, is this 1, accurate, and 2, is it good marketing copy? And the thing that I keep telling people is, look, 90% of the stuff that is on the web is just not good. It's not geared for conversions. It's just bad. And that means that 90% of the information that is inside of the data models is just average to mediocre or worse. So ChatGPT doesn't know what really high converting marketing copy looks like. So that's where you have to have somebody on your staff who actually does, so they know how to modify the prompts so that ChatGPT actually does create high converting copy. Because if you just say, hey, create high converting copy, it sounds like an infomercial and you just want to shoot yourself after you're finished reading it, right? So you have to know how to train it the whole way around. But once you do, man, it's a total game changer. But we can get stuff done now with incredible speed. I don't have to wait 4 or 5 days for a copywriter to get something back. I can do the research using ChatGPT, especially now that I can access the web with it. So we can access the research, we can do a competitive analysis, we can do persona research, we can do all of this stuff really, really quickly. And that's where you can really scale as a marketing company. Does that make sense, John?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Got it.
So it's pretty slick. Now, let's kind of swing into the next stage. And in the next one, this is where we talk about the competitive advantages of AI. To me, my biggest fear for all of our clients is what happens if their competitors are using AI and they're not? What happens if their competitors are really, investing in AI and they're not? It's really such a competitive advantage that if you aren't pushing it and hard and fast, it's changing so fast. It's we talked about it last week, but when the web came out, man, that was accelerating fast. This is an order of magnitude faster. I'm just looking at stuff that's being released, and it seems like every day there's probably 30 or 40 new AI tools that are being introduced. So it's another World Wide Web all over again. There's going to be a crash. There's going to be a shakeout. We don't know which ones are going to survive, but you have to stay on it, and you can't not do this. If you don't do this, I think you're going to be so far behind so fast, you're not going to know what hits you. So you really should be tapping into it and learning how to do all these things. So from a competitive standpoint, especially on the sales side of things, John, I think there's a lot that you guys could do to help. Now, I don't know, about your long-term vision. Do you want to just kind of stay local, or do you want to go more broad than that? All of
Well, we really don't work local at all.
Yeah.
Right. We work I've only done 2 projects here my whole career. Everything's been elsewhere. So we mostly the East Coast, but we've got stuff going on in California, Houston.
Okay. So is the long-term goal to stay as a party of 8, or is it to maybe scale up to, 20, 30, 50?
Of course, depends on demand. I'm not one for a big head count, especially it's the nature of our service set is that we deal with very complex problems, which take a long time to our pipeline could be 2 years long on some projects, right? So you have to approach it a different way. It really, quite frankly, depends on where we're going with these more customer facing efforts, right? When we're talking about doing web portals and fully captive portals and doing automated service provisioning and pushing multicast video around on demand for these sports stadiums and the Lafayette Park's a great, very interesting example. They have soccer tournaments there, right? And you can monetize the video coming off of those soccer tournaments, scoring updates, and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So it's once we've got something that will scale out, then yeah, sure. If we've got the recurring revenue to sustain that type of team, right? But it takes recurring revenue to be able to do that. Otherwise, it's simply hand to mouth project stuff that you have to just load the pipeline up and deal with it with a small team.
That's interesting. The whole recurring revenue model would really change the game for you guys, I would think, because that's typically going to be high margin because you've got repetitive processes, right? So you build it once and sell it a bunch of times.
That and like I said before, there's so many of these systems coming online now, these public facing municipal systems that are being built that there's no sustainability model to. And you got to pay for bandwidth, and you got to pay for upgrades, and so we're already seeing demand pick up, and conversations just kind of roll into these much bigger deals. But we're not done with the tool set yet. If you have to go and do those projects manually, right? If you have to go and set up your web portals and engage with your advertisers and engage with your event producers and all of that stuff on a case-by-case basis, you can't do that, right? I mean, it takes the model won't support it. You'd have to have hundreds of people out there, selling yellow page ads, right?
Right. True. That's
As a metaphor, of course.
I'm still surprised that thing exists. I think we got one the other day. I remember growing up, of course, I also grew up in Houston where we had a giant book for the white pages, another giant one for the yellow pages. And then in Baton Rouge, you know, it was that big. And in Lafayette, they were all combined into one, you know, and now it's a flyer that's not even 8.5 by 11. It's like 5.5 by 6 or something silly like that.
Right.
But yeah. So
Yeah, so this is all very interesting, and I can see the marketing efforts needing to be in place to support that, right? The problem with, and the reason we don't do a lot of broader marketing, other than a website that's basically just a business card online, is because it's the nature of the customers we have and the problems we solve for, that if we had 500 customers, we would be drowning in our own success. Yeah. Right. It's so high touch. You're starting, okay, first we got to, what's the need? What's the budget? What's the infrastructure? Who are the partners? What's your build schedule? We've been working on a project for Chevron that started in 2016. We just finished it.
Golly. So any of that data that you had when you put it all together, the problems that you ran into and the fixes and all that stuff, is that in a format that you could feed into AI to where you could basically get it to solve faster for your next implementation because it's got a data set of complicated
John, as I start to become more and more aware of these tools, I really have started to look at that and kind of expand my mind on how you can do that. It is not currently in any way, shape, or form. But structuring how you do that with the idea of it becoming a contiguous data set, right, is really fascinating, right? And the kind of things you have to think about, because it's absolutely. Are there so many things that we do manually that we should figure out how to automate? Absolutely. And that's really kind of where we're going with this one. Will the distributed antenna system, enterprise, riding the fence between the enterprise and the carriers and all that stuff? That's a little bit, different. But there's a bunch of process driven stuff there too. When you really think about it, it's about how you compose your data sets and how you set up the systems you have. There's a ton of design work that goes into these systems that could be automated. And I see the design tools, even though they're already wildly expensive, I could see them being able to automate some of those design tools as well.
Yeah. Some of them are pretty expensive, but then the offset is what's the cost of a person, the time.
No, I'm talking about the actual design tool itself without any automation. You still have to plug people into it. It's like $46,000 a seat, That's a one-time fee, and then you got to maintain it every year.
Yeah.
Right. But you can do digital twins of 50-story buildings or factories or whatever, and visualize your RF propagation in the facility, right? I got you. So that's interesting. Yeah, you got an interesting business model. And there's so much, to me, there's so much data that you have and so much knowledge you have. The question is, how do you digitize that and then put that into AI, where AI can actually solve some of the problems for you, at least get you 90% down the road where you go, oh, I never thought of it that way. And it's pulling from the data set that you have. So it's very interesting.
Got a lot of potential. Yeah, very, very well. Do you have any questions or anything that we could help answer for you? Because I know we're kind of bewitching hour.
One very specific question, and that is because, all right, so specifically, as we're doing, let's take Lafayette Park as an example. We would want to be able to have so you've got an event there. People come to their event, see QR code or whatever, you got to jump on free Wi-Fi, right? So part of the tool set and the approach that we're taking is that you can get on the Wi-Fi and then we can inject things into your browser as opposed to you having to beyond just a splash page type portal. right? Which is kind of the traditional way of doing that. You got a splash page, you got some redirect advertising, real simple stuff, but you've only got a couple of chances there to capture the customer's eyeballs, right? Right. So, but if you start to do things like, okay, we're going to do location-based services where you can put a group of users together and then be able to use that to find a friend, right? And have that in the browser, not through a downloaded app and not through a separate kind of web service, but one that actually happens on site through a system that acts as a gateway to both be your SD-WAN for service provisioning on the outside, but it takes those same SD-WAN type tools and projects them down into the network. All right, so the biggest issue there is, okay, how do you, without having an app, how do you onboard users and give them a clue to what the different service sets, say your top 5 service sets that you want to support, right? Wayfinding, find a friend, be able to get live scoring updates, be able to onboard them into some type of video delivery system, some type of multicasting video delivery system, so that they can be one place and be watching a game at the other field for these large tournaments, right? That kind of stuff. So, trust me, I'm getting to the end of this. So the vision is to be able to use conversational AI in a walled garden, if you will, to be able not with access to the internet, but essentially to run through FAQs, to direct and train and onboard your users and your vendors, right? In fairly simplistic ways. We're only talking about supporting 4 and 5 different use cases, right? That would then have to be associated with billing system, and then have to be associated with service provision, right? Which is all, script run. Yeah. Right. So could we take a conversational AI and be able to put it in a closed environment just to focus on the use cases that I just talked about?
Yes, it's all custom programming though. This isn't something that there's a tool that exists for that. Yeah. There's several things that you have to ask yourself. Like for instance, finding a friend and all that stuff. I'm not sure how beneficial it would be for you to spend money on that when that application already exists on their phones, on their mobiles already.
Okay, so here's the thing. It does already exist on the hardware software interfaces that we're putting in. All of this stuff exists. The ability to code that out, the ability to script these different things. The tools are already out there, and we've already invested in the platform. So we're not developing that. Okay. We simply want to focus on the customer interaction and the service provisioning, right? So it's used. Okay, so you want this? Great. We start this string of scripts, and now you can, be assigned, this video content to view whenever you want to click on the button. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All those tools are out there.
Yeah. I mean, we have a custom dev team that could work with you on that and speccing it all out and integrating the AI part of it. The tricky part, though, is this is where it gets over my pay grade. I'd have to get them on the call, because trying to inject something into somebody's browser is one thing if they have the browser up, but once they go in, like for instance, this weekend we were at the Hilton in New Orleans, and you sign on to their Wi-Fi and it gives you what's your room number and your last name, and then it gives you access, and then that thing basically disappears and you're kind of on your own, right? So you basically got out of the browser and now you're in the apps. So that's my question: is how do we get it to be more?
Okay, that's already solved for. That's already solved for, right? So the platform we're using, we're partnered with CommScope, Ruckus, a company called RGNet, and they actually have an appliance that sits either in the network or as a cloud service. Although in these cases, because it's such a high density environment, we want it in the network, and it gives you the access to those software-defined networking tools going up and going down into the network. So you can actually inject things into someone's browser and do banner ads if you want, do video, do these location-based service sets. That actually happens in the browser itself, not as a separate piece. Now you can take and tie that browser into another web interface, but those that already exists, right?
Okay,
And,
well,
it's
well, little question. When you say it injects it into the browser, but if they close their browser, then what happens?
you tie it in with SMS to bring it back up. You tie it in with an SMS notification system to be able to push them additional links, additional direction, that kind of stuff. You can also do email. You can reach out to them in whatever way they choose, but then it pulls them right back into the on-site services, right? Right on site. So say you want to get a scoring updates, and that scoring update also has a video of the last score, right?
Okay.
You could do all of that stuff, and it would bring them right back into the system. It's happening in the intranet, right?
Oh, cool. Okay. Because I'm going back to our soccer days when our kids were playing soccer, right? Several times we had one playing on one field and another one playing 20 fields over. And yeah, we wanted to know what the scores are. Also, we were in playoffs. And so we're trying to figure out, okay, well, hopefully these guys will lose, because if they lose, we get to go here. So it would have been really cool to have all that stuff.
Yeah. That came directly from a request from users in the soccer leagues there.
Yeah.
And these guys, it's a huge market. They just hosted, we did Wi-Fi, just straight Wi-Fi with a portal, splash page portal. And there were 74 teams there, right?
Wow.
10,000 people.
Jeez. I knew it was hard to park with that. So then how do you monetize that?
Well,
both
through advertising, right?
Okay.
Advertising this page this function is brought to you by such and such, but then you also just tie it into, you do API integrations with pay portals that allow people to put in their credit card information or their PayPal information to be able to get these premium services. So it's a freemium model, if you will. You get internet access and just get a splash page, or you can opt in for these other services, and then you're pulled into the system and paying for it.
Okay. And then what happens if there's already internet access? I would assume you got banners all over the place trying to promote it, right? Because it's a closed network.
Yeah, that's the whole other thing to it, is if someone wants to come, you would have, that's the other side of this. And another opportunity for revenue is to give an outward facing web page for all the same services as a service to the event producers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And would the event producer participate in the revenue, or is it exclusive?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't want to be out there selling advertising. I want to give a venue for them. I want to give products for them to resell.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
We will be selling advertising as well, because the day-to-day gets sponsored by different folks. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be too hard finding those people, because they're already coming to the park. And they're already part of their little ecosystem there.
Right. Well, I could also see a bunch of vendors, right, who you could text discount codes to where they could go to that vendor,
Right. You can push notifications to someone's SMS, or in the browser. You do push notifications as they come within, so much, or ask questions to, where's ideally, where can I get this, or where can I get that, or what kind of, surveys is another one we did a survey, and it was very clunky and clumsy, but it was better than what they had originally. They're just sending them out to a website.
Man, there's so much with all the AI stuff. As long as you feed it the information, like somebody could say, what field is so-and-so playing on? Right. And they go, oh, that one's at field, whatever, as opposed to you having to go, sniff around, find the schedule. That would be a really cool application for it. So much that you could do with that.
Right. So that, the reason we're doing this where we're doing it right now is because we've got a 5-year contract with the goal of helping them figure out how to monetize the systems. There are 10 other properties behind that just in Jefferson Parish that they're beta testing this for.
Really? Wow.
And it's the demand we're already seeing with these systems that have no sustainability model is it certainly justifies the investment.
Yeah, for sure. Well, happily, I could work with you on that in any capacity.
Great, would love to.
So, love to. So maybe what we'll do is we'll schedule a call, and then I'll bring on the dev team, and we'll figure out, what's our plan of attack. Because, this is the kind of stuff that gets me excited. I love talking
Me too.
about ways to monetize technology and simplify stuff. So would love to
Very
have an
cool.
opportunity to work with you on that.
Yeah, great. Okay. Yeah. So I sent you an email with my my business email address. You just
Great,
flip it
thanks.
over from the private account. There's too much clutter in the private account.
Okay, you got it. I'll do that. Well, perfect. Well, thanks. I appreciate your time. I know
Great.
we're over time, but thanks for joining us today. Just for giggles, let me look at next week. What is next week? We're going to be talking about leveraging AI for data insights and scalable marketing. So there you go. That could be interesting. I'll actually try to get our the guy that heads up our dev team on that particular call. That might be an interesting one to have,
Great.
because he's
Cool.
all about that.
Well, thanks for putting these on.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you joining us, John. All right. Y'all have a great day. I'm out of here.
Bye.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Bye. Great to meet you,
Bye.
John.